Some stories don't just scare you. They get under your skin. They leave you with this cold, lingering sense of dread. They whisper a single awful truth. Be careful what you wish for. Today, we're going to dive deep, and I mean deep, into one of the most chilling cautionary tales ever written. So, our story doesn't begin with a happy family. Not really. It begins with this grim warning from a world-weary soldier. These words just hang in the air, long before anyone even thinks about making a wish. It's like a prophecy of all the sorrow that's about to unfold. This is the story of an object so cursed, its owner would rather see it turn to ash than let anyone else have it. All right, so picture this. We're at a place called Laburnum Villa. It is a cold, wet, miserable night outside, but inside there's a fire burning brightly. And you've got the White family, a father, a mother, and their grown son, Herbert. They're this perfect picture of cozy, normal life. A little bubble of warmth and light, completely and utterly clueless about the darkness they are about to invite in from the storm. Their guest for the evening is Sergeant Major Morris. He's just back from serving in India, a place that to the Whites is just full of romantic, far-off stories. And he's brought back this souvenir, a mummified monkey's paw. He describes it as just this ordinary little paw, all dried out. But what it really is an object that has been violently torn from its home, and it's carrying a powerful and, frankly, terrible magic put on it by a holy man. And this part is absolutely crucial, the reason for the spell. This was never about granting happiness or making dreams come true. No, the fakir, the holy man who enchanted the paw, wanted to teach a lesson, a really grim lesson. He wanted to prove, without a shadow of a doubt, that fate is this absolute, uncaring force. And if you try to meddle with it, if you try to bend it to your will, well, you will only find sorrow. And this thing already has a body count. The first owner, we have no idea what his first two wishes were, but we know what his third wish was. It was for death. That's how Morris ended up with it. And what about Morris himself? Well, when the Whites ask him if his own 3 wishes were granted, he just quietly says, "I did," and his face goes pale just thinking about it. So you see, this isn't a story of wishes coming true, it's a story of them coming due. And right here, this is the central conflict of the beginning. On one side, you have Morris, a man who is literally haunted by what he's been through. He chucks the paw right into the fireplace to destroy it. And on the other side, you have the Whites. They think it's just a bit of fun, a thrilling story. Mr. White actually snatches it out of the flames, and Herbert starts joking about becoming rich and famous, totally oblivious to the real, genuine terror in the soldier's eyes. So after Morris leaves, the family kind of nervously jokes about what to wish for. They decide on something small, something sensible. 200 pounds. See, it's just enough to make that final payment on their house. It's so practical, so modest. What could possibly go wrong with a wish like that? And just like that, Mr. White holds the paw up in his right hand, exactly like he was told. He speaks the words out loud, "I wish for 200 pounds. And with that one simple sentence, this unseen, unstoppable chain of events is set into motion. Fate, the very thing the fakir warned them about, has just been poked. In that exact instant, Mr. White lets out this horrible cry and just drops the paw. He's staring at it on the floor with total disgust because he is absolutely convinced that it writhed in his hand, twisted like a snake. It's the first physical, unnatural, and deeply sinister sign that this magic is very, very real. Of course, in the bright morning light, all that fear seems kind of silly. It's just a dirty, shriveled-up old paw. Herbert even jokes about the money before he heads off to work for the day. He tells his father not to become a mean, avaricious man when the cash shows up. And oh, the irony is just crushing, isn't it? He has no idea he will never come home to see a single penny of it. Later that day, the whole mood shifts. Mrs. White sees a man outside. He's dressed very nicely, but he's just hesitating by their gate. He keeps starting to walk up to the house and then stopping. The dread starts to build all over again, but this time it's not supernatural. No, this is that cold, quiet dread you feel when you know someone is about to deliver the worst news of your life. This visitor, a man from Herbert's factory, is painfully slow to get to the point. Mrs. White finally just demands to know if Herbert is hurt. The man says yes, badly hurt. But then Then he adds the most sinister phrase you can possibly imagine. But he is not in any pain. And for just a split second, that sounds like a relief, until the awful, hidden meaning crashes down on them. So, the man from the factory explains that the company, Ma and Megan's, they disclaim all responsibility. They admit no liability whatsoever. But in consideration of their son's services, they'd like to present the family with a certain sum as compensation. Mr. White, looking absolutely horrified, can barely even get the words out to ask the one question he has to ask. 200 pounds, the exact amount. To the penny, the wish was granted. See, the paw didn't just create money out of thin air. No, it simply arranged the circumstances. It twisted fate in the cruelest, most literal way imaginable to deliver the sum they asked for. And the price was their son. A week after the burial, the house is just steeped in shadow and silence. The old couple just moves through their days in this state of hopeless resignation. All the joy has been drained from their lives, replaced by this unbearable weight of grief. It's a kind of silence that is somehow louder than any scream. And then, one night, Mrs. White wakes up with this sudden, wild cry. She remembers the paw. She remembers they have 2 wishes left, and in the absolute madness of her grief, she sees a way out. She sees a way to undo it all. She starts demanding that her husband get the paw and wish their boy alive again. But Mr. White, he understands the true horror of what she's asking. He remembers having to identify the body. He knows what that machinery at the factory did to their son. He tries to reason with her, reminding her that he's been dead for 10 days, that the body was so mangled they'd be calling back something unrecognizable from the grave. He is just utterly, completely terrified. But her grief is so much stronger than his fear. She practically drags him to the door, crying, "Do you think I fear the child I have nursed?" So defeated, he goes downstairs into the darkness, finds that unholy thing, and he speaks the dreadful words. The paw drops to the floor. And then there's nothing, just silence. A cold sense of relief actually washes over Mr. White. Maybe it failed. Maybe the magic is used up. He creeps back up to bed, and he and his wife just lie there in the oppressive darkness, listening. The only sound in the whole world is the ticking of the clock. But the night is not over. Not even close. At first, it's so quiet you could miss it. A single, almost stealthy knock on the front door. Mr. White freezes, praying he imagined it. Then it comes again, a little louder this time. He scrambles back to his room. A third, loud knock echoes through the house. It feels like it shakes the walls. And then another, and another, until it's a relentless, furious pounding on their door. But Mrs. White, she hears that knocking, not with terror, but with pure joy. She screams her son's name and runs for the door. Her husband grabs her, pleading with her, "For God's sakes, don't let it in." But she fights him off. She's desperate to embrace the child she believes has walked 2 miles from the cemetery to come home. While Mrs. White is fumbling with the chain and the heavy bolts on the door, her husband is on his hands and knees, his fingers scrambling wildly across the cold floorboards, trying to find the paw. He can hear her dragging a chair over to reach the top bolt. He hears the bolt start to creak back. And in one final desperate moment, his hand closes around that mummified thing, and he frantically breathes his third and his final wish. And instantly, the knocking just stops. The silence that follows is somehow more shocking than the noise was. He hears the chair being pulled back, and then the door swings open. A cold wind rushes up the stairs, followed by his wife's long, loud wail. But it's not a wail of terror. It's a wail of pure, soul-crushing disappointment and misery. He runs down and finds her there, at the open door, just staring out into an empty, deserted road. Whatever or whoever was at that door is gone. And this is where the story leaves us, with maybe the most chilling question of all. What was standing on that doorstep? What mangled, horrifying thing, summoned from the grave, was so terrible that its own father's final wish was simply to make it go away? The story doesn't tell us. It lets our own imagination conjure the horror.